Good afternoon. Thank you for creating time for us. You are in time for the Lunchtime News. A very warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. On sign language interpretation, we have Lucy Moura. It is the 6th day in the month of October 2022. President William Ruto is in Ethiopia for bilateral talks, and we also have the latest events from the courts. Do interact with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. Our top focus this afternoon, Sirisia Member of Parliament Major John Waluhe will now spend 67 years in prison if he fails to pay a 1 billion shillings fine. This is after the High Court upheld the ruling by a magistrate's court in June 2020, committing them to the jail term and the payment of the fine. In the meantime, the High Court has also overturned the acquittal of immediate former Kipipiri Member of Parliament Amos Kimunya and 3 of his accomplices in a 60 million shillings land fraud case facing them.
The minor in upholding a magistrate's ruling that convicted the Sirisia MP and his accomplice Grace Wahungu for defrauding the National Produce and Cereals Board of 313 million shillings has ordered the duo to pay the fines or spend 67 years in prison. The High Court judge says the fines were not excessive. Waluhe and Wahungu have been out on a 10 million shillings and a 20 million shillings bail pending the determination of their appeal by the High Court today. The duo, however, have 14 days to lodge an appeal at the appellate court. Meanwhile, immediate former Kipipiri MP Amos Kimunya will now be charged afresh after the High Court vacated his acquittal alongside 2 of his accomplices over a land fraud case. Judge Esther Maina says the Director of Public Prosecutions has convinced the court that there was a credible case against the immediate former majority leader and his accomplices and should have therefore been put on their defense. Kimunya and his accomplices are accused of transferring land worth 60 million to Midlands Limited, a company associated with a veteran politician. John Jacob Curia, Lunchtime News.
Nyeri County Government is revamping the healthcare sector by hiring 170 more healthcare workers in different cadres to ensure efficient service delivery in public health facilities. Governor Mutahi Kahiga noted that the county does not have the requisite number of personnel required to attend to the increased number of health cases being recorded.
Speaking at Nyeri Town Health Center during the groundbreaking ceremony of the construction of a maternity wing project, Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga said the shortlisting process of qualified and competent healthcare workers by the County Public Service Board is ongoing. He emphasized on the need to strengthen the grappling healthcare sector.
I know we have a challenge of staffing, but I think we are now hiring how many? 55 nurses. Health center is a path towards achieving our vision of improving access to maternal and child health services for our community and medical supplies to guarantee optimal operationalization and uninterrupted service delivery.
The governor added that once the project is complete, the maternity wing will not only decongest the Nyeri County Referral Hospital, but also improve access to maternal and child health care.
This project will involve procurement of the requisite state-of-the-art modern medical equipment to supplement the infrastructure and ultimately contribute to the congestion of the Nyeri County Referral Hospital.
The 112 million shillings maternity wing, which will hold a capacity of 35 beds, is expected to be complete in March next year to pave way for its commissioning in June 2023. The first phase of the project will entail the construction of the facility that will host antenatal and postnatal wards, maternal and child health clinic, a laboratory, delivery room, a newborn unit, offices and consultation rooms. Opicho Chemtai for Lunchtime News.
All right, still on health bits, and a section of health workers are meeting in Mombasa. These workers have been drawn from various countries in the region. My colleague Michael Mwandiga is on standby with the latest updates. Michael, good afternoon.
Muchuma, good afternoon to you. Indeed, you're coming to you live from Mombasa, and psychiatrists and psychologists from East Africa region, over 200 of them, they're meeting here in Mombasa just to assess the mental health status, gains made, and formulate strategies on how to tackle mental health issues amidst increasing economical challenges in Africa. And I'm hereby joined by one Dr. Mwinga Chokwe, who is a psychiatrist, just to bring us up to speed why they're meeting here, and maybe going forward, what are they implementing to ensure that this menace is tackled. Karibu Daktari.
Well, thank you, sir. My name is Dr. Mwinga Chokwe. I'm a psychiatrist based in Mombasa. We are glad we are in this meeting because psychiatry is an area which has been neglected and now it's coming up. It's like the environment matter which has been behind but now is picking up. We are here really to address the issue of mental health. Mental health is broader than sickness. So you can have mental health before you even become sick. When you are sick, then you say somebody has a mental illness. But mental health is the well-being, general well-being of an individual and a family, general well-being of a nation. Recently, we've been having a lot of cases of people commit suicide, people killing one another, and all this part of bad mental health status. There is the issue of drugs and alcohol addiction. There is the issue of adolescent health. You have a lot of young people burning schools, generally lacking morals. That is also part of the mental health. So we are here to discuss those issues in terms of the mental health of the nation. We know that in the society, the research which has been done shows that out of every 100 people in any given group, 10% of them will be having one form or another of a mental health condition. And the people who also attend a general hospital, they may go for other things, but you may find that 25% of those people have a mental health issue. Now the problem is how do we identify it? So we got to equip the medical health workers to identify aspects of mental health, even though the patient or the client may not even complain about it. We also need to empower the population so that they can also identify, are they having a mental health issue? Is their life changing? Is their behavior likely to lead to a mental health condition? So this is a meeting that addresses those issues, and in particular targeting on the youth. Yeah.
And maybe if I may ask, as a nation, where are we so far?
Yes, what I started to say is that the mental health status has always been in the back burner. But recently, after the president actually started, the previous former president Uhuru commissioned a commission to look into health status matters. So I think things are looking up. They are looking up, but we still have a shortage of mental health workers. We have a shortage of mental health facilities, apart from the main hospitals which we know, like Mombasa here we have Port Trees, Nairobi you have Mathare Hospital, and then there are a few private hospitals coming in. There is a need for county governments to put money into mental health, so that even if you go to Port Trees, you find that it is in a poor state of affairs. But if you go to Coast General, you find it is state-of-the-art, equipment and so on. Also, the workers are highly motivated. So there is a challenge that we need to empower the counties. Yep.
Okay. Now, thank you so much. That is Dr. Mwenga Choko, who is a psychiatrist based here in Mombasa, and he has elaborated and painting a vivid picture, rather, on what is expected from the country, and of course, those experts in that field on what they're supposed to do. That's all we have from Mombasa County. Of course, we'll be bringing you up-to-date information on the matters being discussed here and the way forward. Back to you, Muchuma.
Thank you, Mwandiga. Good to have you. To other concerns, a lorry driver that fled an accident scene on the 24th of September has been arraigned in Machakos law courts after he surrendered himself to the police. The accident led to the death of a lawyer in Machakos County.
Fidelis Mutuku was driving the lorry which hit the motorbike that the late lawyer Morris Mulei Mateka was riding. Mutuku has been charged with 2 accounts, namely causing death by dangerous driving and careless driving. According to the charges, on the 24th of September 2022 at about 6 a.m. in the morning at Kamutanga along Machakos Kangunde Road, Mutuku drove without due care and attention to other road users and failed to keep his proper traffic lane and hit an oncoming motorcycle ridden by Mateka, and as a result of the impact, Mateka died and his pillion passenger Elvis Muindi sustained serious injuries. The case was before Principal Magistrate Anyoike, who said that the accused be given a bond of 200,000 Kenya shillings and surety of similar amount of 100,000 Kenya shillings cash bail. The case will be heard on 24th October 2022. The Machakos-based lawyer was a managing partner at O.N. Macau and Mulei Advocates and will be buried in Kangundo, Machakos County on Friday.
People living with disabilities in Kilifi County have filed a petition in court seeking orders to nullify all nominations to the County Assembly. The petition, filed by the Federation of Deaf Women Empowerment Group Kenya, together with 6 other organizations, sued the Independent Elections and Boundaries Commission, the Orange Democratic Movement, and Pamoja African Alliance Party for allegedly contravening the fundamental rights and freedoms of people living with disability in the nomination process by failing to nominate a single person living with disability to the Assembly.
In the petition filed under a certificate of urgency at the Malindi High Court and is pending hearing and determination, the persons living with disabilities urge the court to issue orders directing the first respondent, the Independent Elections and Boundaries Commission, to direct the Orange Democratic Movement and Pan-African Alliance parties to resubmit a party list that incorporates people living with disabilities.
Ombi letu tumetumwa kwamba mahakama ikiona kwamba tunastahili, ikiona kwamba ni katika mjibu wa sheria, tupate shughuli zote za bunge la county zisimame hadi wakati hiyo bill wakilishi wa walio na ulemavu watakuwa katika county.
The petitioners say the lack of persons living with disability representative in the County Assembly of Kilifi would adversely affect the strides made in the last 5 years, such as effecting the Persons with Disabilities Act 2022, that is with the government printers, requiring 30% allocation of tenders in the County Assembly of Kilifi to be given to people living with disabilities and women.
Bila mchango wa watu walio na ulemavu katika hizo miswada ama uteuzi wa hawa watu watakuwa wameteuliwa na sisi wengine walio na ulemavu hawatakuwa wamehusika, ambayo ni kinyume cha sheria.
Meanwhile, persons living with disabilities in Garissa have every reason to smile after the National Fund for Disabled in Kenya donated assorted equipment to help them start or boost their businesses. Schools and higher learning institutions that support students with disabilities will also benefit from the donations. Mike Kiswili, a trustee of the fund, advised the beneficiaries against selling the equipment for quick cash, whereas they can get long-term benefits by utilizing them in the right way. He further warned against discrimination of people living with disabilities.
We are collaborating with the CMBOs, with the church, with the government agencies to educate them. And that's why every year we are spending close to 100 million shillings to support institutions so that these children who otherwise could be neglected, who otherwise could be left behind, they are able to be taken to those institutions and be taken care of.
The chairman of People Living with Disabilities in Garissa, Aden Abdel Hassan, said the current drought situation has worsened the plight of people living with disabilities.
Tafadhalini, tunasema wale Mungu awabariki, waangalia maslahi ya person with disability. Sisi tulifanya kengere na tuliongea kila wakati kwa radio, kila wakati kwa TV. Tunasema watoto wale wanafichwa manyumbani watolewa tafadhali. Waletwe macho ya serikali, waletwe kwa ofisi ya chifu, waletwe ofisi ya DO, waletwe ofisi ya county commissioner na sisi tutawasaidia.
Collins Shadrack for Lunchtime News.
Tana River leaders are crying foul after the county missed out on relief food distribution that was flagged off by President William Ruto 2 weeks ago. MCAs from Tana North are now urging the national and county governments to roll out water trucking to save lives and animals from the ravaging droughts.
Salawad MCA Mohamed Ali says schools are being closed due to prolonged famine, with women and children being the most affected, for they have to walk for more than 24 kilometers in search of water for their families.
Shida yetu ni ukame. Isitoshe kuna maskuli sasa imefungwa. Zile shule zimefungwa kwa sababu wazazi hawana fees ya kulipa. Serikali yetu kupitia gavana yetu tunaomba tafadhali mambo ya maji na chakula iangaliwe haraka iwezekanavyo. Tuko tayari kusaidiana. Hatusemi gavana peke yake afanye. Ni serikali mbili tunasaidiana. Tushauriane.
On his part, the governor said that they have exhausted the emergency fund as the budget for the financial year 2022-2023 is yet to be approved by the Assembly. He also added that they usually collaborate with humanitarian organizations on drought response.
NDMA wame take over because now they have money. German Agro-Action, they also had money, 12 million. Pia nao wameshikilia sehemu fulani. Lakini katika usambazaji wa maji kwa ushirikiano, watabusa sisi ndio tuko nazo.
The governor noted that the county was not allocated food and livestock pellets by the state when the president launched the distribution of food to counties affected by drought. According to the National Drought Management Authority, more than 92,000 people are facing starvation in Tana River.
A section of members of minority groups in Isiolo County have appealed to both the county and national governments to consider them in appointments to various positions in their administrations. Led by Moses Gidinji, they urged the president to involve Kenyans from all ethnic communities when making appointments for permanent secretaries and chief administrative secretaries, among other positions.
And George Karethi, an Isiolo resident, called upon the president to be aware of the fact that Isiolo is a county with different communities and to include them while making political appointments since they were left out in the previous administration.
Tungeomba serikali iliyoko juu, serikali ya Mheshimiwa Ruto ambaye ni rais mpya, angalie jamii zote ambazo ziko Isiolo, kwa sababu jamii zingine zimepata viti za kisiasa. Jamii zingine nazo ziangaliwe kwa viti za appointment za rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
On her part, Helen McKenna from Meru County said that Meru community was left out of leadership positions in 2017, with the Burana community getting 2 chief administrative secretaries and major elective positions.
Tunaomba angalie inclusivity na sana pia angalie gender. Asipeane kwa jamii moja peke yake, apeane angalie a balance, kwa sababu ndio tuweze kuwa well represented.
Other major ethnic groups that have called for recognition include Turkana, Somali and Samburu.
Deans of schools and education in public and private universities have been urged to bear the responsibility of ensuring that all teachers graduating going forward attain skills to deliver the competency-based curriculum CBC. The success of the program for those transitioning to junior secondary phase in January would depend on how well teachers handle the novel curriculum.
As that have been given forth for the task force that has been put forth by His Excellency the President. The universities are represented. So we want to trust that we will be able to shape the university and education in line with the CBC.
Our graduates of education who are graduating now, should be CBC compliant, so that when they go to teach to the secondary schools, CBC curriculum, they are not lost. We need to see how we can finance university education so that the stakeholders also contribute more than they are doing at the moment, so that we can also provide quality education. Because if the universities are properly financed, we can be able to provide 21st century facilities. We are talking of 21st century pedagogical skills, but that is not going to happen if we also do not invest in 21st century facilities, which we already shared with the deans based on our experiences elsewhere.
You're watching the Lunchtime News. We are taking a short commercial break. We'll be back with more, including business and sports. Stay with us.
Are you a holder of unclaimed financial assets? Take advantage of the Finance Act 2022 moratorium on penalties and interests. Surrender any unclaimed financial assets in your possession today. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Even Nameless, a great artist, one of the best, and I'm biased towards, but if even he can't sing, he sings as if he's talking.
Yasinski, please start a songwriting workshop. Funza hawa watu wa Gengeton kuandika lyrics za muziki.
We went there, Mwali.
Yeah, it is very we need an intervention.
I'm in a place where I went to look for a job into a certain brand, and they told me, sorry, we cannot work with you because you're a single mother.
Can you declare what you do on TikToks privately?
I follow Asiad. That one is... that one I follow.
Wewe kama mbaba.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Lunchtime News. Trouble is brewing over a 230-acre piece of land that has for years been used by Zeman settlement scheme along Thika Road. Developers claiming ownership of the land have threatened to kick out squatters residing in the area. The inhabitants have, however, maintained they have nowhere to go.
Wamekuwa wakisumbuliwa huko, wamekuwa wakipigwa huko na majambazi ambayo wanaorganiziwa na group ambaye ilijitenga na sisi kama na ofisi yetu. Tungeomba tu serikali ikaweza kuingilia na kutupatia ulinzi. Ombi langu kwa serikali, ningeomba venye tu rais anasema hataki ufisadi, anataka kuanza serikali mpya na mambo mpya. Tafadhali tungekuomba rais wetu uweze kuingilia kati ya hii shamba, juu imekuwa ni shida, ni miaka na miaka tumekuwa tukisumbuliwa. Kwa hivyo tungeomba tu serikali kupitia kwa new IG wa polisi aweze kushughulikia hii mambo yetu.
Students from Mabunge Roman Catholic School in Nambale constituency, Busia County, have received bicycle donations from a non-governmental organization. The bicycles were given to the students who travel long distances to get to the school. Over 25 students have so far benefited from the initiative.
GAP Kenya, in conjunction with friends from the USA, supported students in Busia, most of whom have to travel long distance to get to school. Helen Mukanda, the director of GAP Kenya, urged the students to talk to their friends who may have dropped out due to long distance to school, saying the organization was willing to sponsor them.
Tafuteni wenzenyu ambao wameacha shule, wameenda Nairobi kutafuta ajira kule, wako tu mumu Busia wanafanya kazi ya house help, wengine wameenda kufanya bodaboda, wamesonga Malaba kidogo, ama Samia, ama Kakamega. Mwaite mwavutie warudi wapi? Shuleni.
The Assistant Chief Eliud Maloba said the bicycle will ease movement from home to school on a daily basis.
Hizi baiskeli zimekuja kuwasaidia na kuwarahisishia wakati wenu wa kufika shule na kurudi wapi? Nyumbani.
The principal Mabunge Secondary School appreciated GAP Kenya initiative, reiterating that the donation shall ease movement from home to school and from school back home.
In the name of bicycles that can facilitate the students' movement to school so that the students cannot be able to be absent from school for failing to wake up early enough.
Welcome. Time for Channel 1 Business News. Kenyans abroad are opting to send money to their loved ones back at home digitally on account of high charges and cases of money lost through mistaken details. Due to increasing demand, cross-border remittance firms are adopting a name confirmation model before clients send money. ZEP's Group CEO, Mark Lenhard, who is on a 5-day official tour in Kenya, says the country remains an entryway for remittance and payment companies into the sub-Saharan African region due to digital advancements.
Over 3 million Kenyans remitting money into the country. So what are some of the costs they incur and what are some of the challenges that they face? Diaspora remittance accounts for about 3% of the gross domestic product, with the money sent back home by Kenyans living or working abroad standing at $3.7 billion last year. Cross-border remittance firms say Kenya experienced a boom during the COVID lockdown period, when Kenyans abroad sent more money to make up for the financial downturn their loved ones in the country were facing.
As things go digital, things are going to move quickly. So Kenyans have been great. They've been helping to really drive customer demand for remittances, but just payments more generally that happen very, very quickly. So I think you're going to see more and more of that.
10, 20 years ago, you could have said, well, payout into sub-Saharan Africa is difficult. Getting the hard currency to each village, to the agents to pay money out, might have been costly. But of course, we live in an era of M-Pesa. We live in a world that has very much been shaped by mobile money.
They say due to this, many individuals opted to shift to digital payment methods, which cut their transaction cost by more than half.
You will be paying under 3% to send that money. It's cheaper, far cheaper than many of the Hawala options. And so we've actually seen over the years a migration of people who used to be sending through Hawala, who now find it's a lot easier to send money from my bed on my smartphone, to send when I know it's going to be secure and it's going to arrive in minutes, and to send the most affordable way.
Primarily consumers, so sending a P2P, C2C type model where consumers are sending other consumers.
On average, remittance costs the sender more than 6%, and shifting to the digital platform would reduce this by half. Money transfer firms are now linking up with other payment service providers and banks to ensure seamless service for customers.
You can send to M-Pesa, you can send to almost any major bank in the country, you can send to SACCOs, you can even send to cash pickup, that agent at the end of your block, if you so desire. Now, most of our users are sending to M-Pesa or sending to bank accounts, but we try to make it possible for people to choose as easily as tapping on the screen of their smartphone.
Ideally, someone remitting money into the country should only pay 3%, but the challenges are proving to make these costs even higher. Hibak Saeed for KBC Channel 1.
Now, before we get into an interactive session whereby we'll be talking money matters, Kenya's insurance gross premiums grew by 13.2% in the second quarter of 2022 to 163 billion shillings from 144 billion shillings posted in a similar period last year. The Insurance Regulatory Authority, IRA, attributed the growth to continued economic recovery from COVID-19 shocks.
Statistics for the quarter ended June show that general insurance premiums surged by 8.2% to 92.4 billion shillings compared to 85.36 billion the industry reported in a similar quarter last year. Additionally, medical and motor insurance classes contributed the most to general insurance business premiums at 34.5% and 28.1% respectively. Further, the Insurance Regulatory Authority notes that the general insurance business remained the largest contributor to the industry insurance premiums, contributing 56.7% of the total premiums. Industry stakeholders noted that general insurance business underwriters incurred claims amounting to 37.1 billion as at end of quarter 2 of 2022. The claims incurred loss ratio was 68.1% in the quarter under review compared to 66.8% in quarter 2 of 2021. Insurers also made substantive losses during the quarter, paying claims worth 34.51 billion shillings as opposed to 30.6 billion paid in the same quarter last year, representing an increase of 12.7%. Ndosamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
Thank you, Mokami. Now, President William Ruto has time and again said he will fulfill his campaign pledges in ensuring the bottom-up model works out for the people with low income in the society. And first and foremost, he said he will ensure these people with low income are able to access loans for development purpose. And he said he wants millions of Kenyans who are listed under the CRB to have their names out for them to be able to access these credit facilities. For more engagement on this and more, we have on set CEO for Jijenge Credit, that is Peter Masharia. And to kick us off, Bona Masharia, welcome on set.
Thank you.
Millions of Kenyans are excited about this move. Of course, it is one that has been blocking a number of them in accessing the credit facilities. What is your take in regards to this move by the government?
Thank you. The move is a great one. It's meant to uplift the low and low-end consumers and the common mwananchi. It's the government is trying to make it a reality to uplift the lives of the hustlers, or they are making the bottom-up model. They are applying the model of bottom-up, and basically it's meant to spur the growth of SMEs and improve the flow of cash within the economy, which is a great move. It's a good strategy because it will definitely help the country increase the tax collection or tax collected, and improve the livelihoods of a majority of Kenyans.
But then you say we are looking at 4 million Kenyans plus. Supposedly, these Kenyans are given money again by the credit facilities, then they fail to pay back. What scenario are you foreseeing?
Well, the beauty of the Credit Reference Bureau is that data is never removed. It stays in the CRB books for a minimum of 7 years. Then therefore, I believe if they go to commercial banks or to microfinances or to whichever lending organization, they must do their due diligence. And if someone had borrowed 100 shillings in the past and they failed to pay, they should not qualify for 100 bob. They should be given a small amount that will spark their business growth, and they should be put under what we call in credit terms on the watch list, so that they are observed on whether they will pay the 20 shillings. If they clear the 20 shillings, they can be upgraded to 30 shillings, 40 shillings, 50 shillings, gradually, so that their capacity to pay back can be improved.
But then, what model do you think the government should use to avert any eventualities where we have the credit facilities crying foul of loss of money or anything going wrong in a company that will make them get to much losses? What strategy do you think the government should put in place?
The best strategy for the government is to come up with a credit guarantee scheme, so that the lenders, the people who will be lending to these low-end consumers, their funds are guaranteed. For example, they can say, for every shilling you lend, the government guarantees the shilling that you give out. And I think that proposal is in the pipeline, is in the office, because it's in the offing, because I know there have been promises of the 50 billion Hustler Fund.
And when we have these strategies in place and we ensure that actually Kenyans are going back to get the money, and from the way you have been gauging the economy of this country, where do you see us at in the next 4 years?
Well, the beauty of the Kenyan economy, or rather the beauty of Kenyans, is that we are very resilient and we are able to survive in any difficult situation. A good example is during the COVID period. The economy was very low, and it was in the ICU, and we came out of it, and we succeeded and we overcame the situation. Equally, the same thing will happen in the current situation, and therefore, in the next 4 years, I can foresee a very robust, a very stable, a very sound economy, especially with the excellent management of the governor and the CBK. We are destined for great heights and success.
But then, Macharia, this whole process might not be rosy throughout. There are challenges, and from where you sit, working for a credit facility, or for the Jijenge credit, what are these challenges that you see we might be able to come across as we implement this?
Well, economic challenges are there, and we are going to definitely experience them, both internal and external. For example, for external challenges, we are looking at a very turbulent time in terms of the foreign exchange rates, because mainly the main reason for this is the Russia-Ukraine war, which is causing a lot of turbulent waters, economic situation worldwide, not only in Kenya. The other reason is the cost of fuel, which is also being felt across the world. And of course, there are so many, or rather there's also the ripple effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still being felt. Most countries and organizations in the world have not yet recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic. So those are the three main external factors that we shall face. Internally, we have the issue of non-payment of suppliers who constitute mainly the SME by the county government. Most county governments and most government organizations have not paid their suppliers for quite some time, and the bill is quite huge. And the other challenge is, of course, the political period, which ended last month. And usually what happens, the Kenyan economy has a 5-year cycle. It goes down during elections and picks up after elections. So currently we are trying to come out of the political economic slowdown. And the third one is the issue of our balance of payment. If you look at the imports, or rather our exports are very, 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 very low. And we really need to encourage producers, the way the government has done by supplying subsidized fertilizer to up the production number so that we're able to produce more and sell more food or export more food and more goods externally.
Macharia, from where you sit, do you think this strategy and plans should be extended to asset financing? Of course, we hope for the best. As much as there are challenges, we also look at the future. Do you think should be extended to asset financing?
Oh yes, the support needs to be extended to the asset financing segment, because if you look at the production line or the area that can spur faster economic growth for the country, it is the agricultural sector. And apart from fertilizers, they also use equipment. A good example is the tractors, the hatcheries, the chaff cutters, all those equipments that are used by farmers. Even the milking machines, those are equipments that you can support our farmers with, so that the economy and the livelihoods of most Kenyans can be improved.
Macharia, thank you for your time. Looking forward to have you more for more engagement on the same and also in regards to other concerns. That is Jijenge Credit CEO Peter Macharia shedding the light on us on money matters. This is after the government said that we will have millions of Kenyans having their name removed from the CRB list for them to access the credit facilities for development concerns. In other concerns, irrigation activities in Kilifi County are declining on account of the high cost of fuel prices in the country. Small-scale farmers are now grappling with soaring prices of fuel since the government removed the subsidies last month.
High prices of crucial commodities have forced small-scale farmers to cultivate small portions of land in Katswanzala village in Kilifi County. Farmers along rivers in the county who solely depend on water generators to grow crops for sale as well as produce food for their families have been struggling with the high cost of petrol, which has spiked to 200 shillings a litre in the county. Farmers are now being forced to abandon parts of farms due to high cost of running the diesel-powered machines.
Mafuta iko juu, njaa pia ndio hiyo. Unga uko gali, ukangana pesa ya mafuta kwa siku, huko na siku za ukame na ndo huo shambani kunatakana maji. Maji yenyewe nimwage maji hako karoboeka baada ya siku 7 kwa sababu hali ya ukame. Baada ya siku 7 tayari nipige maji.
The hungry families urge or pleading with the government to return the subsidy to lower fuel prices since its economic mainstay in the county. One of the farmers, Dominic Kazungu, says families in the semi-arid county are going through a hard time bringing up their families, which has been occasioned by high fuel prices and frequent attack by elephants which destroy their crops.
Futa ni yashuke bei. Mheshimiwa Rais, hili swala tunakuomba na tunakusihi mafuta yashuke bei, kwa sababu saa hii mafuta ndio moyo wa ukulima, mafuta ndio moyo wa transport. Sasa hii mafuta yakiwa yako juu, hakuna venye mwananchi wa kawaida ataweza kujimudu.
The number of foreign tourists visiting Tanzania rose 48.6% from 621,000 in 2020 to 923,000 last year. Tanzanian Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa revealed the figures when he opened the 65th Conference for World Tourism Organization Regional Commission for Africa in Arusha. Here now are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the continent.
The rise in foreign tourist arrivals has seen tourism earnings increasing by 81.8% from $714.6 million in 2020 to $1.3 billion in 2021. Tanzanian government has put in place a mega tourism strategy aimed at increasing the number of foreign tourist arrival to 5 million by 2025, which will earn the country $6 billion by 2025. The conference will be followed by a forum of the theme Rebuilding Africa Tourism Resilience for Inclusive Socio-Economic Development. UNWTO pledged to work hard in supporting member countries in recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic that heavily affected the tourism industry. Meanwhile, the Moroccan government has issued 10 permits for farmers to legally grow cannabis for industry and export for the first time. Farmers in the northern region of Helsima, Chefchaouen and Taunet will be allowed to produce and sell cannabis for medical, pharmaceutical and industrial use in accordance with a law passed by Parliament last year. The national agency regulating cannabis activity that issued the permit said farmers will be encouraged to increase legal cannabis production to meet the need of the market. Morocco has long been one of the world's largest producers of cannabis. The government's move to legalize cannabis production is meant to improve the conditions of poor farmers and generate revenue for the economy. Finally, South African retailer Mazmat Holding said on Wednesday that it had begun staff consultations about closing its game stores in East and West Africa. After efforts to find domestic buyers for the stores failed, Mazmat Chief Executive Officer Mitch Sleep said last year that it was in discussions to sell its game stores in Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania to stem losses in that struggling part of its business. Terry Njenga, Lunchtime News.
Across the globe, petrol prices are expected to rise following a decision by the world's top oil-producing countries to cut supplies by 2 million barrels per day. Saudi Arabia and Russia, who are members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, said the decision was aimed at stabilizing the prices, but there are fears that the move will push inflation rates higher. Take a look.
Some of the world's top oil-producing countries have agreed to cut the amount they export in a decision expected to raise petrol prices around the world. Members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, a group that includes Saudi Arabia and Russia, said they will slash production by 2 million barrels per day. The group said it wanted to stabilize prices which have fallen in recent months as the world economy slows. But the decision raised fears that the prices for motorists will climb. Expectations that countries were planning to pump less had already pushed oil prices higher this week. The price of a barrel of Brent crude jumped almost 2% to more than $93 a barrel on Wednesday. The reduction is expected to push oil prices higher, forcing the wholesale cost of fuel to rise. The cut announced by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies marks the biggest reduction by the group since the height of the pandemic in 2020. It comes despite pleas from the US and others to pump more after oil prices spiked this spring when the war in Ukraine disrupted supplies. Meanwhile, Hong Kong says it will give away 500,000 airline tickets worth $254.8 million as it tries to boost its COVID-hit tourism industry. The free ticket
but look who it's popped to.